My manager said follow the dress code exactly, so we all did. The all-staff email from our new manager should have been a minor policy clarification, but his demand for strict dress code compliance would transform our modern office into a sweltering throwback to corporate culture from the Clinton administration. His message was clear and authoritative. From now on, the dress code is to be followed verbatim as written in the handbook, no exceptions. For years, our business casual environment had been relaxed and practical. People wore polo shirts, button-downs, blouses, and slacks without anyone caring as long as they looked professional and tidy. The ambiguous nature of business casual had worked perfectly for our collaborative workplace, where comfort and productivity mattered more than rigid adherence to fashion rules written by people who'd never done our jobs. But our new manager apparently believed that workplace authority was best demonstrated through micromanagement of employee wardrobes. His edict sent me digging through my desk drawer for the dusty employee handbook that most people had forgotten existed since their first day of orientation. What I found inside was a time capsule of corporate dress expectations that hadn't been updated since the late 90s. The handbook was brutally specific in ways that revealed how out of touch it was with modern workplace realities. Men were required to wear dress shirts, ties, slacks, and jackets. No exceptions for weather, comfort, or the fact that we worked in climate-controlled offices doing computer-based work. Women faced equally rigid requirements: knee-length skirts, nylons, blouses, and closed-toe shoes, as if it were still 1997 and business fashion hadn't evolved at all. Monday morning, I showed up in a full suit and tie, looking like I was heading to a job interview rather than my regular workday. The transformation was immediately noticeable. Coworkers did double takes seeing me dressed like I'd stepped out of a different decade. But by Tuesday, other people had started reading the handbook too, realizing that our manager's verbatim compliance demand applied to everyone equally. By Wednesday, our office looked like a corporate costume party celebrating the worst aspects of late 20th century business attire. One female coworker was suffering in shoulder pads and nylons during August heat that made the outdated requirements feel like workplace torture. A male colleague had dusted off his wedding suit, complete with cufflinks and suspenders, because the handbook technically allowed Victorian-era accessories alongside its mandatory formal wear requirements. The most absurd part was the jacket requirement that prevented us from removing our suit coats even while sitting at our desks. Half the office was sweating through expensive wool blazers while trying to focus on spreadsheets and presentations, our productivity hampered by clothing designed for boardroom meetings rather than daily computer work. The disconnect between our job requirements and dress requirements became painfully obvious. HR started receiving complaints about hostile working conditions within days of the new policy implementation. Employees were overheating, uncomfortable, and spending money on outdated professional wardrobes that served no functional purpose beyond satisfying our manager's power trip. The handbook's requirements were so specific and impractical that they created legitimate workplace safety and comfort issues. The breaking point came when people realized the handbook's age meant it included bizarre allowances for fashion choices that were outdated even when the document was written. Suspenders, because they were technically mentioned as acceptable accessories, became a form of protest against the rigid interpretation our manager had demanded. If we were following the handbook to the letter, then every letter mattered equally. Within 1 week, management had completely reversed course. The follow-up email was a masterclass in corporate backpedaling. Use common sense in following the dress code. Business casual, as done before, is fine. Our manager had learned the hard way that demanding strict compliance with outdated policies would be met with exactly that. Strict compliance that exposed how ridiculous those policies actually were. The return to polos and khakis felt like emerging from a time machine that had trapped us in an era when workplace culture prioritized appearance over performance. Our manager never mentioned the handbook again, apparently having learned that attempting to micromanage professional adults through their clothing choices was a battle not worth fighting, especially when those adults were willing to comply so thoroughly that the policy's absurdity became undeniable. The incident taught everyone involved a valuable lesson about the difference between leadership and control. Real workplace authority comes from clear communication, reasonable expectations, and respect for employee judgment, not from forcing people to dress like they're attending a business meeting from 1998. Sometimes the most effective way to challenge unreasonable demands is to follow them so precisely that their unreasonableness becomes impossible to ignore. Our brief return to the fashion standards of the dot-com era had been uncomfortable, expensive, and completely counterproductive, but it had accomplished something important. It had shown our new manager that his employees were intelligent, professional people who deserved to be treated as such. The handbook went back into desk drawers where it belonged, and our office returned to focusing on work instead of wardrobes.